Hey, Brownie Bakers. I want to tell you about Ticket IQ. We need you right now. Ty Lue has been fired. Hugh Jackson and the Browns organization are making changes. That does not mean we give up. That means we go sit our butts in the seats and cheer on our teams, right? So you want to attend the next game you go to for 5% off. You're going to check out our links in the iTunes description. Brownie Sunday Podcast. Make sure you also subscribe, rate, and review. You can also find this link on the podcast when it's uploaded to Twitter at Brownie Podcast on Twitter. At ticketiq.com, you can download Ticket IQ and use promo code LPG5 as well for a 5% discount. Ticket IQ is your smartest ticket search, offering the largest and most diverse ticket inventory for live events. All tickets are guaranteed with 100% buyer protection, providing a safe and secure ticket purchase for any type of live event, including the Browns, Indians, Cavs, Buckeyes, Blue Jackets, concerts, the WWE, and more. Whenever you find a ticket listed as a low price guarantee, you'll know that's the lowest price for that ticket on the market. So visit Ticket IQ, and the easiest way to do it is to use those links either on our Twitter or in the iTunes podcast description. Cheers.
Brownie Sunday, wake up in the late afternoon. Call Rod Bloom just to see how he's doing. Yo, what's up, Rod? Hey, Chad, what's happening? You thinking what I'm thinking? Cleveland Sports Talk, man, it's happening.
Hello, welcome into the Brownie Sunday Podcast. I'm Chad Painter. With me as always, Rod Bloom, Vice President of Cleveland Sports Talk. What is up, Rod?
Hey, Chad. Oh man, I gotta say I'm a little bit down after this game. I just am, but other than that, things are great. But man, that was a rough one today.
Yeah, we're definitely going to dive into it. In the first quarter, still, the Browns had a plus 11 turnover differential, best in the NFL, 21 takeaways. Derek Kindred had one again in this game. But, man, you're right. We're 2-18 in Pittsburgh since 1999 when I became a fan of this team. And again, it may be tough to hand out some game balls, but let's start off there. You know what? Actually, it's because I didn't bring anything to the table today. I skipped this, but I know that you actually have something. We'll give out a game ball in a second, but what are you drinking?
Well, my wife actually happened to notice that one of the restaurants in town called Milano's, which is actually real close to the University of Dayton, that they were going to be tapping a keg of Great Lakes Christmas ale last night, Saturday night. So we went down. They were tapping the keg at 6, so we got there about 5, and we got our dinner, enjoyed that, and then we waited, and it was kind of cool because a guy dressed like Santa Claus came in, I think, carrying the keg, saying ho ho, and everybody was chanting Santa as he came in, and then they tapped the keg. So I got a glass of the Christmas ale, got to keep the glass, bring it home with me, pretty cool. And I enjoy Christmas ale, but I have to tell you, Chad, we got there and it was an hour until I was going to get that beer. So I got another beer. I went through the whole deal, what's on tap, and and the waitress started with the all the stuff that I'm not going to drink. I'm sorry, the Budweiser, all that kind of stuff. So, and she came down and she said, "I've got a Franz Hefeweiss." I said, "Okay, I'll take that." Well, it was actually a Franziskaner Hefeweiss Dunkel that she brought me out, a 22 ounce. I did not clarify what size I wanted. And I have to tell you, so I ended up with a 22 ounce Dunkel, and then I asked for a small of the Christmas ale because I wanted to have my wits about me a little bit.
Right.
So I have to tell you, this Franz Hefeweiss Dunkel, it was tremendous. I really enjoyed it. I mean, it had a nice dark color to it, but just a tremendous flavor. It tasted dark, but not the overpowering coffee flavor that I really don't care for in a stout. it was just an excellent beer. I have to say I enjoyed that more than the Christmas ale between the two. And I really liked the Christmas ale, but the Dunkel, it was awesome.
Wow, Dayton was the place to be when you were out there. That sounds fun.
It was a great time, yeah.
Yeah, you got to be careful when you just tell the servers, "Hey, just bring me that next time." Just bring me whatever.
I wasn't even thinking. She brings out this huge glass, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I have to drink it because I know what a Christmas ale is going to do to me.
Right, yeah. She brings out Das Boot, and you're like, whoa, I wanted to try Santa's Christmas ale over there.
Yeah, I kind of just passed my keys over to my wife, before the Christmas ale even came out. I'm like, you can drive home tonight.
Yep, here you go. Oh, man. Yeah, I love Christmas ale. I love when it gets out into town, and man, that just means that Oktoberfest and pumpkin ales are going to be cheaper. That's also a great thing for us, right?
Definitely.
Yes. Well, I didn't bring anything to the table. I honestly haven't had anything like this week. I had some Rising Star coffee, which is a great Cleveland coffee shop. They've got a couple locations in the area, and we serve it where I work. So I had a couple delicious cups of Rising Star, and I might make a cup of coffee tonight too. Just feeling like coffee right now. I enjoy drinking for the taste, right? I don't enjoy drinking to coat myself after the Browns losses. So I try to be careful. So yeah, let's get back to the game here. Obviously a huge game. We've got some big things to talk about, especially with Hugh Jackson, the coaching staff, things that are being reported right now. But let's start off here. Game balls. Who would you give a game ball to on the Browns after this 33-18 loss?
Well, like you alluded to earlier, it's a little bit tough to find the bright spots in this one. But I'm going to give one to Myles Garrett for picking up his 8th sack in 8 games. I guess I saw on Twitter that that's actually a record through 8 games for the Browns, which is incredible. We've had there have been some pretty good pass rushers play for the Browns over the years. So, so it's pretty impressive. I'm not surprised Myles Garrett would hold the record, but, it did kind of catch me off guard. I really wasn't tracking him against former Browns or anything. So 8 sacks in 8 games, and I think we talked early on in the season. I think several of us, I think his sack totals maybe when we had Jeremy on, and and we were talking 16, 17, and he's keeping that pace up. So, he's been as advertised.
And as Cleveland fans, we should definitely not take for granted what we have in Myles Garrett. This guy is going to be one of the best edge rushers in the game for a long time. You pray he stays healthy and he has these kinds of games, game in, game out. He's such a gamer. He's such a baller. He's an expert. He's at expert level, in edge rushing. He's just an amazing talent, and we don't want to do this. We've had guys like this, of this stature, that are going to be elite for so long in Cleveland, and we end up kind of taking it for granted. And it also, say, for the coaching staff, we have to build around a guy like that. We end up taking him for granted, even at the level of management in our franchises and organizations. And then we just say, this is our guy, but we don't build around him and give him more. I think some changes could happen. We'll talk about this a little later, to where you set up the defense to really build up around a guy like Myles Garrett. He's such a foundation stone to what we have going on. And love what Jeremy in Akron, a little shout out to him. He was on, some weeks back, and pretty much, I think it was before the season started. Maybe that show was, and and he predicted that he'd have that many. He's on pace. What an amazing thing! And I loved when in that sack he came around. It was really sneaky, and somehow Ben Roethlisberger held on to that ball. And you watch that in slow-mo over and over and over, and you think, how Myles Garrett, that brute strength, just with a hammer of a fist coming in, sneaking around the bend, and how does he not knock that ball out? Ben Roethlisberger has got to have some rocks for hands. Or I guess it's just how you get to that level when you've played quarterback this long in the NFL.
I guess, yeah, I thought the same thing. I thought that ball was coming out, and yeah, it surprised me, but I guess you got to give Big Ben some credit for holding on to it.
Absolutely. You'd think that'd be a strip sack, but Ben Roethlisberger, if Baker Mayfield can have half of the presence in the pocket and awareness in the pocket of Ben Roethlisberger in his career, I'm going to love it. It's just unfathomable. I'm going to stick on the defensive side as well. You've got to give a game ball to Derek Kindred. Pretty much the main guy other than Garrett that I saw really handle his own on the defensive side today. What did he have? He had an interception and he had a strip fumble, and he looked good doing it. So you got to give him a game ball. You got to pat him on the back and say, hey, man, well done. It's tough to play safety against what these guys have got going on. A Vance McDonald, a Jesse James, a Juju Smith-Schuster, Antonio Brown in these routes where they're running across the middle. And to rip that ball right out from Stephen Ridley's hands was a nice play. So I'm giving him the game ball there. Let me ask you this, too, just because the whole defense comes to mind. Greg Williams is an older mindset, I guess I could say, in the NFL in defense, on the defense. I mean, here's a guy who's playing old school rules with all this young talent. And you look at like a Sean McVay, and I know he's the head coach, but he seems to have a lot of success as a 30 or 31-year-old now with a young team on the Rams. But Greg Williams, bringing this older mindset to the defensive side with all these young guys on defense, is still having, I would say, the most success in all the three categories of our team: offense, defense, and special teams. So what do you think? How is Greg Williams finding success and finding a way to get the best out of our young guys?
Well, I think he's doing what he said he was going to do last year, but I don't really feel like we saw it come to fruition last season. And that is using the players that he has at their strengths. Last season, we heard that talk, but we really didn't see it. We heard that, and then we saw Jabril Peppers playing free safety. And it's like, what's he talking about? He's not doing what he said he was going to do. Well, now, you've got guys actually doing what they're best at on the defense. And, and I think that they're really, I think he has really hammered home the point of see the ball, hit the ball, get the ball, whatever his phrase is. I can't remember exactly how he said it. See ball, get ball, something like that. I think that maybe it's taken some time, and of course he has some better players this season too, even though they're younger. I just think he's got a little bit more talent around, and some of his stuff's coming together, and I think the guys are buying in, and I think this defense believes in their ability to make these plays and to turn the ball over. It's starting to happen, pretty frequently this season. So, I think the guys are buying in. I think they believe they can go out there and take that ball away.
Absolutely. Myles Garrett is on record saying takeaways, takeaways, takeaways is what Greg Williams preaches to us every single time he gets us in a room. And it's clearly working. So keep it up, yeah. Greg Williams. And it's an awesome thing to see this guy being able to stay creative and be able to be this kind of coach with our young guys. And I love it. I think there was a lot of, worry about that, anxiety about that as we saw him not use people well, like you said last year. But I guess he was using what he had. Now he's got a free safety that is at an elite level in Demarius Randall, probably the best acquisition in the offseason that wasn't in the draft. And now you're seeing these holes filled, and he's able to use these guys to the best of their ability in the right fits on the defense and get creative and obviously get them in opportunities to get these takeaways. So phenomenal job there. Let's move into thriving or diving. Hey, Brownie Bakers, I want to tell you about how you can start playing fantasy sports in a whole new way and receive $10 free to play. I'm talking about Thrive Fantasy. Their platform allows you to set your lineups by picking the over-under on players. Say you want Russell Westbrook in tonight's matchup. You can pick the over-under on him reaching 19.5 total rebounds and assists. You get fantasy points on your team if you get the right pick. You can get up to a $10 match on your first deposit with our Bitly. That's bit.ly/Cleveland Sports Talk, and start playing with us today. You can find that link in our iTunes description at Brownie Sunday Podcast, or you will be able to find it real easy on the next pinned tweet when this podcast goes up on our Twitter at Brownie Podcast. Cheers. Rod, why don't you kick us off with thriving or diving, man?
So, the thrive again, it's a little bit tough. Tough to come up with somebody who truly thrived today. I mean, you can look at the takeaways. I thought the defense did a good job there, but I decided to go with Antonio Callaway. He didn't get a lot of yards, but he did make 5 catches. I think that's a step in the right direction. So that's good to see. There just really wasn't a lot of good things that we saw on the offense. The defense played well, but then I just think they got tired near the end of the game, and they kind of gave away, what they had gained in the first part of the game. So I'll stick with Callaway for my thrive. My dive is going to be the Browns continuing to not capitalize on turnovers and stands by the defense. The Browns defense, and even the offense looked good at the beginning of the game, but the Browns defense was dominant at the beginning. And you have, especially against a team with an offense like the Steelers, you have to score touchdowns, guys. You have to score touchdowns. We settled for 3 field goal attempts when we were dominating the game. We end up with 6 points, and you just know there's going to be a play. Pittsburgh's going to be up 7-6, and sooner or later, of course, it happened. And at that point, you've dominated for so long, and you look up at the scoreboard and you're behind, and that just has to take the wind out of the sails of the defense. Of pretty much the whole team. And it's 7-6, and you're still in the end of the first quarter, beginning of the second quarter, and you just kind of feel defeated. So the offense has to do a better job, whether it's Baker or the wide receivers or the offensive line or the play calling by Todd Haley. Somehow they have to figure out how to score touchdowns off of these turnovers.
Yeah, the defense can make records all day in NFL history if they wanted to on takeaways, but it comes down to our offense getting the ball in the end zone. Oh, my goodness. But I do like your thrive. I love that Antonio Callaway caught 5 passes. I love that he got more involved, and a few weeks ago we had Jake Burns on who said, man, get this kid to be like a Deshaun Jackson, and he's not there yet, obviously. You've got to work him there to where he's the guy who takes the top off the defenses. He's the big play man. When you don't expect it, you toss him the deep ball. But for now, let's toss him a few short passes, get his confidence up, get his hands ready, get him used to NFL game speed. He's been out of the game for a year, right, in suspension before this season, and we're rushing him in. And so I like this game as kind of a almost a practice run for Antonio Callaway. We need more of these games to just dump it to him and get him like 5 catches in these games that are shorter, get his hands ready, get him running routes. I liked seeing that as well. I think that was a great thrive. For me, and I think this could be a running thrive, Rod, I think this could be just a pattern for the rest of the season. This is our new Josh Cribbs. This is our special teams hero that everybody's going to start buying jerseys of, and it's Britton Colquitt. Britton Colquitt, you are my thrive infinitely until you are no longer a Brown. So
he's been great.
He has. I mean, he's got ice cold blood running through his veins when it comes to punting. So I love him. My dive, and let's talk about this for a little bit. the coaching dilemma that was brought up, especially by Ian Rappaport following the game on Twitter. He said there are for sure issues among the coaching staff, maybe even sabotage among the coaching staff, and that somebody is going to go. And actually, this tweet might have come before the game when he was talking about if they lose, somebody's got to go after this game, either a Todd Haley or a Hugh Jackson. So let's dive into this a little bit. This whole coaching thing has got me stressed. First of all, did Cleveland fire the wrong coach today that rhymed with the name Hugh?
I think just talking, amongst the, Cleveland Sports Talk staff, that, most people thought that firing Tyronn Lue was not appropriate at this point. And, what good's it going to do with a young team? So I mean, I don't see a point in the Lue firing. I would see a point in the Hugh firing. I mean, I could go further. I just it's been a very unique season with all these close games. When we had so many that could be squarely put on either the officials or the kickers, to where you couldn't just pin losses on Hugh Jackson or anybody else. So now, the Browns lose the two easier games that we've been talking about, and then they come into these two really tough games. Well, the Browns, how long has it been since they won in Pittsburgh? 50 years or something, it feels like. So, it's kind of hard to have expected a win in Pittsburgh today, or to expect a win against Kansas City, who is just on an incredible roll. But you have to look at what's happening within the game and whether you feel this coach is really helping this team become what it should be or not. And today was, other than the way the defense came out of the gate, today was awful. I mean, it was just downright awful. It was terrible to watch. And I can't pin it on any one of the players. It was kind of a whole team effort. And to me, that goes to the coaching. So yeah, somebody's gotta, I think somebody's gonna go this week, and I think rightly so.
And here comes Hugh again to the podium saying, "You guys heard me wrong. I didn't say I'd take over all the offensive, calling responsibilities.
I didn't do anything.
Yeah, but I said I would help. So it's really not on me again." Oh my goodness. So really, it just keeps coming back to these backhanded. He's trying to sneak these things in to say it's Todd Haley and not me, and save his job. And it's like, at the end of the day, man, Todd Haley's the new guy here. It's mostly your record, if not all your record, since you've been here, that has caused a losing culture here. And Hugh Jackson's got to take responsibility. And we keep saying everything comes back to Hugh, but it's coming back to the ownership. What is the ownership going to do? Obviously, we don't know the Haslams. We don't know the management there. But, man, it's kind of a scary situation to go, what are Dee and Jimmy Haslam thinking? What are they going to do with Hugh Jackson? Because everybody is scared that it's going to be Haley and not Hugh come morning. And I'm not sure, man. You know what? I could say this, too. I bet you we could be on Twitter tomorrow morning, and it could be Coach Wiley that's gone, and that's it. And it would be still a true statement that something was going to happen on the coaching staff.
Yeah, that would be the big move to turn this team around. Yeah.
Exactly.
I mean, come on. I mean, we saw in Hard Knocks, Hugh just going over and over. He's the he, not his words, but it's his ship. He's the captain of the ship. Well, he's the captain of the ship as long, when it's convenient for him. Otherwise, it's always somebody else doing something. That is not how a head coach is supposed to act. Head coach needs to take responsibility for everything. If he can't do that, he is not playing the part right. Okay, he's just not saying what he should be saying. He's not doing what he should be doing. So if he's not capable of, taking the heat or the credit or the blame or anything for stuff that happens, then he's not suited to be the head coach of this team. And I think most people in Cleveland right now are going to agree with that. I mean, sooner or later, if you're not going to put up wins, I mean, geez, it's just, today was just an embarrassment. I mean, it was just a total embarrassment. And, and there have been worse losses if you just look at the final score, but that game, yeah. I mean, the Browns touchdown there near the end kind of made it look closer than it really was. That game was over, shortly after halftime, I think.
Oh yeah, that was a beating. And yeah, you're right. The score looked differently than it actually was in reality. But yeah, Coach Hugh Jackson, he cannot get up there to in front of the media and think that he can keep blaming them for the way that they heard something that he said over and over and over.
I think that builds a losing culture, and you're just blaming somebody else all the time. Can't do that. It's time.
A couple weeks ago shows it. There's players not coming to the press conference, and Hugh Jackson's like, "Oh, that's a surprise to me. I don't know why they're doing that." Well, because he's spewing this stuff that is not true to the press. And how are you supposed to gain respect that way? I mean, I've seen our rookie quarterback, Baker Mayfield, handle the press a million times better than our head coach right now. And that's sad.
No doubt.
That's sad. Another thing that is sad, Greg Joseph missed a field goal, big time, and missed an extra point, big time. Can't blame the wind. What do you think happens with Greg Joseph this week, man?
Well, I think that the kicker carousel is going to continue. Seriously, I think that Greg Joseph's been around a week or two longer than I expected him to be when he came in and watching some of these kicks. I think they'll probably make a move this week, kicker, too. And I'm sure he's a heck of a guy, nice guy, but man, you just can't miss kicks. You can't miss kicks like that in the NFL. And when the Browns scored that touchdown, it popped into my head. I'm like, he's going to miss this extra point. And I'll be doggone if he didn't miss the extra points.
Oh, you almost expect it. You go, okay, yep, we scored.
It's like things are starting to go our way.
Yep.
Yeah, here it comes. Bam. Momentum killer. It's just a momentum killer. And it's a shame. I wish that that he would have been the guy. Obviously we don't want to keep turning over, bringing new guys in every week at you just don't know how you guys going to perform. But it's I don't know. I feel bad for the guy, just like I felt bad for Zane Gonzalez. I always want players on the Browns to do well, but if he can't make the kicks, there has to be somebody out there who can make, and I most of the time.
It just seems like so many other NFL teams out there are able to just fill the holes that are left by somebody else so quickly, and they're able to roll with that guy for another, several years. And it just happens to us over and over again, where we lose a Phil Dawson, our staple kicker for years, and we just can't get the right guy in there since. It's just unbelievable, You think,
it is, yeah.
I thought the same thing at the quarterback level with the Colts. They lose Peyton Manning. Oh, here comes Andrew Luck. I'm like, goodness gracious. How does this happen? It just seems to go that way for some other teams. But let's talk wide receivers here, too, for a bit. Obviously, the Steelers locked down Jarvis Landry. 8 receptions for 39 yards. That's it. And, man, he truly was locked down. He couldn't get open. They absolutely knew how to stop him, and that was their game plan. Lock down Landry, and our receiving game is going to go out the window. And that's what happened, and that's what's scary. In the future here, that's what teams are going to do to us, because the Steelers are not that great of a pass defense in this NFL right now, and they were able to stop our pass game big time. They're going to lock down Landry. and we're going to have no pass game going forward.
Yeah, I mean, the Browns just really don't have anybody else to be feared. They just don't. Antonio Callaway, we already talked about him, 5 catches with only 36 yards.
Yep.
He couldn't do much. He scored a touchdown, but I think it was a pretty short touchdown reception. Beyond that, I mean, the shame of it is Duke Johnson. That first drive that the Browns had, that looked so good. They were mixing it up so well. And then Duke gets hurt and goes out, and he was in more after that, but he wasn't a factor. So I think he must have had to have been some kind of an injury that was actually hampering him some, because he was not himself after that. But he had 2 receptions for 16 yards, and I think those were probably, I don't know if they were the first 2 plays of the game, but they were probably 2 of the first 4 plays of the game. Just.
Yeah, I mean, we've been talking about him a lot on this podcast for the whole season. However, it really does seem, when we go back into our memory banks, that Duke Johnson, like every 3rd or 4th touch in a game, does get injured. He's just very injury prone. And so he ripped off 2 big plays, and then, as soon as that happened, of course, it looked like a knee injury, something on the lower leg. Man, just a bummer. And we needed him as a receiver. When you've got Damian Ratley as one of your main targets for a rookie quarterback, that's rough. A 6th-round pick who definitely needs to develop, and he needs to understand route running. I mean, both of the big bombs that Baker Mayfield threw to him, he was just easily pushed over into the out of bounds, and those were not routes. I mean, that was just a straight go route down the sideline. And these cornerbacks who have played in the NFL for some years, like a Joe Hayden, can easily cover that guy. And I'm sure he's got some talent. Yeah. He's very speedy, but straight down the sidelines and just getting bodied out, by the corners is not going to work for us. We need a wide receiver if we're going to win some games this year.
That's true. And David Njoku was nowhere to be seen today. They really need something out of him. Beyond that, you're right. I mean, I like Ratley. I like what I see in him, but he's not a guy who should be, your number 3 receiver this season. It's just definitely a stretch for him. And beyond that, I mean, who else does anybody need to cover? I mean, Brashad Perryman, he's not going to concern anybody. Seth DeValve hardly plays at all. And there's nobody else. There just isn't anybody. So Jarvis Landry cannot do this on his own. Antonio Callaway, I think they used him today the way they need to use him. Send him deep now, but I don't want to see, just ball after ball thrown deep to Callaway and seeing him drop him. Get him the ball and see if he can make something happen, pick up some yak. But I don't know what the answer is. I think short of bringing somebody else in, if Callaway and Duke Johnson and Njoku can't pick up the slack for Jarvis Landry, then it's going to be a rough go the rest of the season.
Yeah, it was just too easy to get our passing game completely obliterated this game by taking out Landry. And Njoku almost had that touchdown, but 0 reception in this game, and everybody played Njoku in fantasy this game because they have been gashed by the tight end all season. The Steelers have been horrible. I mean, they're just throwing rookie safeties out there who have not been able to cover tight ends. And David Njoku for the past 3 games before this has seemed to be like, he's breaking out for sure. Here it comes. And this game just completely shut down. Could have had that touchdown catch, but still wouldn't have been a huge day, especially in receiving yards for him. That would have been it. So, some huge issues at wide receiver. I thought that something would happen at wide receiver by now besides Perryman, so I'm a little concerned, but I'm hoping before Tuesday that we get somebody. Demaryius Thomas talk has quieted down. The Broncos are getting more calls about Emmanuel Sanders, apparently, who they're not as willing to give up. And apparently Tyrod Taylor is not as valuable as we thought he might be.
That's what we'd like to think.
That's what we'd like to think. I heard
Yeah.
it. I heard somebody say it this week. Well, we could trade him to the Jaguars, who are struggling at quarterback, but they have Tyrod Taylor, just a slower one, in Blake Bortles. Oh boy,
Yeah.
They got to try something though. I mean, you might as well.
Well, yeah, I mean, it comes down to what's this season really about at this point? The Browns are 2-5-1. Does anybody think they're going to make the playoffs at this point?
No, not after this game.
This season is about development. It's about development of the young players, and it's about development of Baker Mayfield primarily. So how is this guy going to develop when he have anybody really to throw to aside from Jarvis Landry? I mean, I don't have the target breakdowns in front of me, but he threw to Jarvis a lot today. Obviously, Jarvis had quite a few catches, but he's thrown to Jarvis because who else is going to catch the ball? There's nobody else that's really reliable for him at this point. So one thing, he doesn't have the targets, and second of all, he's running for his life out there. What in the world is up with this offensive line? This offensive line is supposed to be better than what they showed today, and they're definitely up and down, week to week. So I think there's some issues on that line that they're going to have to address some things in the offseason again on the offensive line because they're just not getting the job done either.
Yeah, the left tackle talk with Desmond Harrison has quieted down quite a bit. Just too many penalties, too many holding calls, especially today, losing a safety, giving up 2 points to the Steelers, and that was on Harrison. But it was because he's left alone trying to stop these edge rushers on his own. And so, yeah, something's up with that offensive line. What do you say? Do you think we have to fill that left tackle spot still? We haven't found the guy in Desmond Harrison?
I don't know because, he looks good sometimes, but I think it's a matter of knowing when you need to get him help. Let's face it, there's some really good edge rushers in this game, and not every left tackle is Joe Thomas. You just put your left tackle out there and figure he's going to nullify any edge rusher that's out there. Some guys need help, especially this guy who's a rookie. Okay, he could be the answer. Yeah, did anybody expect him to be the starting left tackle at this point?
No.
No. So he's getting invaluable experience. Obviously, we don't want Baker Mayfield to get killed. So get the guy some help. I don't know who else you have that's going to step in. They're not going to put Joel Bitonio out there at left tackle now and bring Austin Corbett in at left guard. They're not going to make that switch now. And I don't think they're going to put Corbett in at left tackle. So I think you're going to see Desmond Harrison left tackle the rest of the season. So geez, get him some help. And I don't know how J.C. Treader graded out today, but he was clearly injured. So if he can't play his position because he's hurt too much, put Corbett in at center.
Yeah.
Do something. Don't just say, well, these are our 5 guys. We're going to play them. They'll do the best I can. Jeez, come on. You've got your rookie quarterback out there who's supposed to be and is likely to be the future of your franchise. Protect the guy. Give him his best chance to develop, which is giving him some protection. Get him another wide receiver if he needs one. And, and hopefully things will work better. Definitely get him some practical experience versus what he's doing right now, which is running for his life and throwing incompletions, quite a bit of the time, just unloading the ball. Which I have to say that, I thought Baker did a lot better job today of getting out of the pocket and getting rid of the ball. I saw some very positive things out of Baker, and I know he threw for nothing today. But I saw some very positive things out of him getting away and getting out and unloading the ball. He took less sacks today, or less sacks that he didn't need to today than he had been in the previous games. And I have to tell you that the one play where he did the the 2 spin moves to
The
get
shake
away.
and bake. The shake and bake.
2 spin moves to get away, and then motions Jarvis Landry back and made that completion. That was so impressive.
That was elite.
I mean, for me, that was the play of the game. I just, from the Brown side, anyways, I thought that was just a tremendous.
Yeah, and he got beat up in this game. And I'm really hoping we don't, check our phones tomorrow and Baker has a further injury than we know about, because he was limping off with the knee, and he's already been banged up. He slid on that flag last week. The guy has had to run for his life, like you said, and he's getting banged up for it. And that's my concern. You look at this offensive line, and they're not protecting him as well as we need to be protecting our rookie quarterback, our future of our franchise. Yeah. And so he's got the rest of the year to go. And, man, we really do need to get him some help if he's going to do that. But, yes, what an elite pass, man. Took a note straight out of Ben Roethlisberger's book, man. That double spin was
pretty much
Roethlisberger-esque. Like, nobody was going to touch him. And you love to see stuff like that from a rookie. That's unbelievable. He's just got a winning mindset, and he's going to push it, and he's going to get the ball down the field somehow, some way. Love that mentality. Love that grit. Thank you for bringing up that play. That gives me the chills again.
Yeah, it was great.
Thank you, Baker. Yeah, man, we got to protect him. That's the thing. They've had 3 tight end sets out there a lot of the game just to protect the guy. That just shows the defense, man. Our O-line is just garbage right now, and I'm sorry to say it, but that clearly shows it. It was such a bummer to see the Steelers and all their creative plays, and that we've stole their offensive coordinator, and it was like, man, we're showing nothing. They know what's coming every single play almost, unless Baker does a shake and bake move and gets away and points down the field to Jarvis and makes a play on his own. We can't have that. Well, let's talk the running game a bit too. Obviously, we were gashed by the Steelers' running game. Did have James Conner in fantasy, so it's bittersweet. But my goodness, he played like he wants to keep that starting role. My goodness. You don't need Le'Veon Bell when you're going on 24 attempts and 6 targets for 146 rush yards, 66 receiving yards, and 2 touchdowns.
Yeah.
I mean, video game numbers, man. And Nick Chubb looked good, but again, back to this offensive line. He had some burst, he had some big plays, some big gains, but at the end of the day, he could only rush the ball on 18 attempts, 18 carries, 65 yards. 1 reception for 10 yards. We should be able to run on the Steelers. There's something to be said again for James Conner's success in the offensive line of the Steelers. They're one of the best offensive lines in all the league. But
that's the difference. Yeah. I mean, I can't say I've seen all of James Conner's games, but he runs well and everything. But I don't think he's a better back than Nick Chubb.
Yeah.
It's your offensive line, it's your play calling, and the Steelers were, superior in both of those areas today, no doubt.
Absolutely. And my goodness, you get Dick Johnson on some injury woes here. We're going to be a lonely backfield with Nick Chubb.
Yeah, you could say that. I mean, we did see a little something from Dontrell Hilliard with the reception today. And, he's got a little bit of some moves on him. But, when you get down to your guy who would have been your 4th back coming out of training camp, then it's probably not what what you had planned. That's for sure.
Yeah, it's one of those times where you go, Matthew Days would have been nice to keep around just in case. But yeah, so that running game was rough today, even though I definitely saw some great things out of Nick Chubb again, even though stats don't show it. Let's close out the show here though, Rod. IQ test. Do you have a bold prediction you can hand on us today?
I think I'll just stick with what I said last week. that somebody's not going to make it past the Kansas City game, and I kind of be surprised if somebody's not gone before the Kansas City game. I just, I just, I don't know how you can keep this coaching staff, in its entirety together going forward. Something's wrong. Just today was the worst game, of the season. I mean, the Chargers game, it wasn't good either, but this was just a bad game. And I think it's time to look at the cumulative record and kind of, let Hugh pack his bags and head on out, and whatever happens the rest of the season happens, because I think they'll look for their head coach after the season. But that's my not so bold prediction, is that Hugh doesn't make it to the Kansas City game.
I'm going to say genius.
I hope so.
The Browns have to get rid of their Jeff Fisher to find their Sean McVay.
Yeah.
And John Dorsey, you got to believe that he can do it, right?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. And that's what needs to happen. The coach needs to go. Dorsey obviously has done overall. I think we would also give John Dorsey probably an A in what he's done as a GM. So let him bring his coach in, let him get the coaching staff that he wants out there, and let's see what happens at that point.
My bold prediction is a little abstract myself, but it comes off of what you just said with Hugh Jackson. So if Hugh Jackson is gone, relieved of his duties, then John Dorsey is going to step in and do a lot of his own work now that Hugh is out. And maybe it's just me thinking he did so much in the offseason that he's just going to keep going, and I'm on that high of excitement from the offseason. But I've got to believe that John Dorsey is going to shake things up a bit. I think Jamie Collins is going to be on the trading block for maybe a pick. People like this are going to be on the trading block in order to move in Jannard Avery, Ogunjobi, Myles Garrett, everybody on at the same time, and then Joe Schobert coming back healthy. Guys like that are going to be a commodity to be traded so that we can build for next year. And I'm not going crazy. I'm not saying, all right, it's over, guys. I'm throwing in the towel. I'm going to still watch every Browns game. I'm going to want them to win. Mm-hmm. I think John Dorsey wants them to win, but he's got to make some maneuvers to get the team better. It's moving a Jamie Collins or a guy like that to get a better offensive lineman, or a pick that's going to get us a better offensive lineman next year. It's going to be going and getting a wide receiver that somebody might be able to trade come Tuesday. I mean, people are talking Golden Tate still, Emmanuel Sanders, Demaryius Thomas. There are guys like that out there that if you line them alongside Jarvis Landry are just going to make Baker's life so much easier. I'm telling you, we can't go the rest of this season. It's going to be dreadful with every defense just shutting down Jarvis Landry. That's their game plan, and we're going to run it with Nick Chubb 20 times plus every game and watch him get battery rammed,
Yeah, and it really makes the difference in the whole offense having that second receiver, because like you said, it shuts the running game down because they know what's coming.
Yep.
He put a couple guys on Jarvis Landry, and half the other guys drop the ball every time. They just have to protect against Nick Chubb gashing them, and we're going to do that. So yeah. It's so incredible to think where this team where it started at wide receiver and where it is right now. It's unfathomable to think that they had potentially, one of the top, I'm not going to say the best, but one of the top wide receiving groups, assembled, and now it's Jarvis Landry and that's pretty much it right now.
And friends, yeah.
Yeah, Jarvis Landry and friends. So
so I guess to sum it up, my bold prediction is that when Hugh is fired, John Dorsey is on the phone tomorrow wheeling and dealing, moving some pieces to get us picks and to get us a wide receiver before the trade deadline.
I'll go genius with that. I think you're right. I think John Dorsey's going to be ready to do that, and I think that he was probably stood in the way of some moves, as much as he could up to this point, because Hugh probably has his guys. So, yeah, I could see all of that happening.
Well, that about does it, doesn't it?
It does. Yeah, not really a very fun game to analyze for us, but like you said, I'm still a Browns fan. I'm still optimistic about the future of this franchise. Maybe not this season right now, but this franchise. So I'm still going to be watching every Browns game. We're still going to be breaking them down right here. But I think it's coming, and I think it's going to happen pretty soon.
Yes, sir. So keep catching the Brownie Sunday podcast. We love doing this. We love having you listen. And again, this has been the Brownie Sunday podcast. Cheers.